appear for Brunswick House Authority, January 24, 2023. I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Dobson to accept the agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dickerson. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. I think that we can discuss the Boys and Girls Club and anything that we have to decide or make a vote on. I think that we're in the process of changing board seats. I think it comes up in February or whatever among this commission board. And I think anything that needs to be voted on should be waited until we change our board seats. And we have a discussion to make about any other reason.
Is that a motion?
That's not a motion, I'm just saying, you asked me, is there any discussion, and that's my
Any further discussion?
Well, I know.
Yes, sir.
It struck me as odd that some of these issues are coming up in a special call meeting, as opposed to the regularly scheduled meeting. And, you know, having said that, we'll see what the substance is, but I would encourage the board to try to conduct our regular business during regular business meetings. Certainly to the extent that we're addressing contracts that are contemplated in a regular scope of business. I think that the efficient administration of the organization will be a lot better if we can hold the special calls to a limited, and that makes sense. But that's my only piece for today.
For today.
For today. Well, maybe. I'll reserve my rights.
Yes. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed have the same. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we'll take a moment of silence and then we'll get into the discussion items. Thank you. Let's begin with the discussion items. We have salary adjustments. Mr. Baker.
Yes,
Where
sir.
that falls to you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Baker, can you give us a little context, a little background on this, just for my benefit as you go through?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
This agency, when we came in, Commissioner, was grossly undertrained, understaffed, and grossly inefficiently, I don't say inefficiently ran, but people were out of position. They weren't operating in their strengths. So we went to several organizations, trying to see where we could place people to grow and to best benefit this agency. So we went through that for about 6 months, moving people around. We did our best in the transition process to not terminate anyone and to give everyone the opportunity to train up to their potential. What we did find was that a lot of majority of the staff had not had the opportunity to grow. They did not have. There was some salary disparity along the way, and we knew we were heading down the road of some challenges. So we tried to avoid that as much as we possibly can, and so there was a lot of movement among the staff, and there was a movement and the salary increases and things of that nature. So that's kind of the overall history of what we walked into prior to. It was we're going to change the agency and get it to be productive and provide decent and sanitary housing, create upper mobility. We're going to demand. We're demanding the current staff to hold down multiple positions, multiple tasks. We found that was ran into some labor issues that Ms. Howard called labor compression. So we had to adjust accordingly. It was cheaper and most inexpensive for us to just increase salary versus bringing someone else on. So that's kind of where we are. And so we went right into it. That's no question.
As far as the salary adjustments, as I spoke before, I think we need to hold on salary adjustments because most of the staff, when we came on board 6 months ago, as you said, that they were undertrained and understaffed. So and they're all in new positions. So as I said before, we are going through a management change and a board of commissioners change. We are not going to, I don't see no need to adopt no changes in wages. They just got a Christmas bonus and they have not been evaluated long enough in their jobs. So I asked the board to hold on these salary wages until we have a new change of board, a new change of management, and go forward from there.
Well, I would
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I thought this was already happening at last meeting with the salaries. I thought we already voted on this. I believe that we did vote on these. These are some additional, my understanding is that these are additional changes. Who said? What?
No, my understanding of this is that the first group of changes was approved back in December. The second group, my understanding, was approved. They were approved at different times. There's been 2 meetings. And I apologize for not knowing all of it because Ms. Howes is the HR person that does this and she's on jury duty. But the ones where the second grouping of them were all approved back in December. The first group, I'm not sure exactly when that one was approved. That was at least November, if not also in December. But both of these were approved. The only one that would be new is the actual new position at the very bottom, which is Mr. Jackson.
Okay. I'm clear on my.
Now, Miss Matchett has not come on board.
I'm clear on my
We
question.
discussed in the other meeting, one other meeting, that the increases were astronomical, and we don't have any other housing authority the size of ours that we compared these salary wages to. When Mr. Baker first did these salary studies, he came in and said that some of the staff haven't been paid in sometimes in some years. But we need an evaluation, 6 months, whatever y'all do in 1 year in order for these salary wages to come. And as I said before, the makeup of this board and management is going to change soon, so any voting that has to be done on salary wages has to be compared to what other housing authority staff employees are making. And like I said before, most of these employees have been changed around from position to positions in the last 6 months. So we don't know if they have acclimated to their duties, if they understand it, and if they've been trained and been certified in that position.
Mr. Baker, would it be fair to say that Ms. Howes would be the one that could shed some light on that, or do we have some information?
Yeah, for the most part, Ms. Howes be the one to shed light on it, but what I would suggesting here that we are short-staffed. This agency been ran with about 30 employees, and majority of the staff is carried on in 2 to 3 positions here. For instance, Section 8 is been ran by actually pretty much one person, and she's at home right now and in surgery, and she's working from home. And what we have found as well, we're discovering that arson has issues with landlord payment, and so we're going to be diligent on that. We pretty much have one person, actually 2 people running that Section 8, so we're going to, we need these, we got to compensate them for the 2 to 3 position that they're running. But it would be safe to say that Ms. Howes, who's on jury would be best to answer that question. But to run this efficiently, with the help that we need, we're running a real dangerous economic labor compression here, according to Ms. Howes. So we got to adjust, do what we can to save money, but also to save agency efficient. We now satisfied the public housing side of it right now for the best that we can. We now turn our attention to Section 8. One of our biggest issues, Commissioner, is that we can't get qualified people here. When I say here, coming from out of other cities, even within the city, to come on board. So we're working with the staff who's willing, has the desire to improve and to grow this agency. So that's kind of where we are right now. And that's kind of the sad state of the thing. And if you come to work, you can.
Mr. Baker, since you've been here, this is the last organizational chart that we had from June 30th, 2022. We have had several organizational charts since you've been on board, which are all here. And so from this to this, we have extended employees. And so once again, I say, this is what you gave us in December and November, because I asked for a finalized organizational chart. And still we have new employees that came on board since this came out that's not added on here. And so I say,
That's the one that's approved. No,
This is-
not that one. The one in your other hand is approved. And no new positions are actually added to that one. The vacancies have been tried to be filled.
mhm.
There's one particular one that we've tried working with a guy for 3 weeks now to try and get him to show up, and he has yet to show up.
Well,
Miss-
Mr. Jackson is right now the residential director.
That's the
Okay.
only position that actually has been filled that is vacant on that deal.
Where's Nicole Lewis?
She is. Those are
Okay,
the two,
so
but those are the
like-
only two
I'm on
positions.
the call.
Okay, but like I
Um,
said before, we've been discussing salary wages. I would like to wait until the new ED or whatever we do after here, or the new commissioner board has been changed out to decide these things. Because it is an astronomical amount of increase, and we have.
Point of information, when is the
evaluate.
board gonna be changed out? Point of
You
information.
didn't get the letter? We
No, I
discussed that in a few. But, I'm just saying, hold off on the salaries because.
Well, don't mention that in
one
a
thing-
special call meeting then. If it
Then
need to be
this is a
discussed-
special call
No,
meeting.
it need to
We
be
discuss
discussed in our
special
executive session, not in a
Listen.
special call meeting. Point
As
of
I
order. Mr. Chair, let's get order in this meeting.
We
And
have.
let's move forward,
Hang on.
No.
because I'm not gonna deal with this today.
Hang on. Excuse me.
And I'm not gonna deal with your tone of voice today, neither.
Well, you gonna deal with something.
Hang on, listen, hang on. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes,
go ahead and continue, please.
all right. And as I said, let's hold off on salary wages. We have other things to deal with right now to get through.
Commissioner Dickerson.
I'm done. We need to have orders, we need to continue. We didn't heard this over and over again.
Commissioner Collins, you have any
And I
comments?
do wanna say this.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes, sir.
In these special call meetings, commissioners are not supposed to bring up discussions that need to be dealt with in executive session. Period. Period. We have guests and we have people watching this video. And I want it to be for the record, when we discuss things in executive session, that's where it stays, but not in the special call meeting about board members being removed.
But we didn't say nothing about being
Hang on.
removed.
I don't know
We said
nothing.
we should
I got
be
point
out.
of order.
Hang
Don't,
on,
don't raise your voice at me,
Madam
Commissioner
Vice Chair.
Dickinson.
Madam
You're
Vice
out of
Chair.
order.
Point of order.
You're out of
Madam
order.
Vice Chair,
Call
please
his
let
name,
him
don't
order.
call me.
Please let
He's
him
Point
out
of
of
order.
order.
Point of order.
Please let him finish.
Read Robert's rule of order.
Continue on,
I read it.
Commissioner Dickinson.
But like I
Vice Chair.
said,
Like I said, I got point of order.
so we know what
Madam Vice
Commissioner.
Chair.
Vice Chair just made a comment that board members are gonna be removed in a special call
I said
session.
changed out.
Why? Is nobody's got to be
Okay,
changed
that's
out.
enough of this conversation. We're
We're
done.
getting ready to have an
We're done. We're
election.
done with this conversation. Let's move back to our salary adjustments. Does anyone, Mr. Cummings, do you have any questions about the salary adjustment as presented thus far?
I do. I think that, well, I guess my primary question would be, looking at the three prongs of salary increase, it's now my understanding that the board has approved the top two.
That was my understanding, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And Ms. Howes or the meeting minutes from those meetings will be able to shed some more light on whether it was actually approved.
Yeah, no, when I spoke to her, the top two tiers were approved, but she can confirm that, Commissioner Cummings. And then the only real adjustment is we're gonna need, staff adjustment, 511, but we do have some adjustments and above and moving people or giving people extra duty. For instance, we have a particular young lady that's working in finance who's gonna have to audit our Section 8 files for CMAP, which is about 650 files that she's gonna take on those duties and responsibilities, because a Section 8 counselor cannot evaluate and inspect their files. So we're asking her, this young lady who came out of Section 8, will she take on those duties and responsibilities? And that's a huge undertaking, and CMAP is a major responsibility. These requests are a minimum, and they are critical to the day-to-day operation of this agency. And we're constantly trying to find solutions and looking for other opportunities to offset the cost and the expense of this administration.
Is there an evaluation scale, and has all the employees that you change positions been evaluated? And there's usually an evaluation scale between a point of a percentage of an increase. Have y'all done that and compared their positions to other housing authorities, our side, in order to get this pay increase? Because I just think that you made this pay increase by how long they've been here and what you said, because it's just too much right now. Because in a write-up, you say that they were understaffed. But if they were understaffed, they didn't know their job, how did you move them to another job before they got acclimated in the present job we were in? And I'm just asking the board that we have to delve more and compare other housing authority agencies to our size, to these pay scales, because some of them are getting more than they need to be getting for the job that they're in, and for the time that they've been in the job.
Madam Vice Chair, I would say yes, that I would put the 30 employees in this agency against any one top 30 employees in this county and in this state. And the efforts and the results that we're getting from our employees are astronomical, productive, and you're to go to an agency this size, you would have to go around Atlanta, which is a whole different dynamic. We're the one that we are if not the largest agency, we are one of the largest agency in this region. So you're dealing with a whole different economy, North Georgia versus Southeast Georgia. So to go with someone, agency that comparison of that nature, we got to go to a whole nother economy scale to get someone in like this. But our employees are some of the best that this county had to offer. It's not the best. And so even though they may have been in those positions, they are attacking these positions in a way that everyone would be highly impressed. And you can see the change in the last 6 months. First, when I came here, the whole atmosphere of this agency, of this community, the residents are excited. They have taken pride in the community. We got community associations that's going out picking up paper. We got residents that because of our efforts to try to go in and address mold and mildew and other maintenance concerns, I cannot pay these guys enough.
Mr. Baker,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
question is, we need a salary comparison because you did one by salarywage.com in one of your write-ups. Mr. Baker, have they been evaluated for these last 6 months? And then we can still discuss a salary wage, as I said before. So you can say all how good they are, whatever, but any job goes by a salary scale and an evaluation before raises are given, opposed to, I guess, separate from the Christmas bonus. So we have to move along, not to stay on this topic, and I'm asking you to do that. And so,
Well, let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. The salary study that we have is grossly outdated. The one that we're proposing to go to is going to cost us about $30,000.
you don't have to do you don't have to do a salary study. Just call other agencies and compare it, and let's see the comparison, and let's go from there. But right now, it's not the time to vote on salary wages.
Go ahead, Ms. Ogden.
Miss Jamie House, when she figures up these raises and changes of salaries, she looks up in a pay scale format, and she looks at it and compares job duties, and she comes up with these salaries. These are not random numbers picked out of the air. These are looking at a actual pay scale for job duties to job duties. It's not as if Mr. Baker goes ahead and says, well, this person's doing this, that's what they should get paid.
Are you sure?
Listen, I can tell you, I have sat there and watched Miss House go through a book that's like this, of what she looks for as to what their positions are. And she goes into and checks to how many years experience they have, what they've been doing, and then she tells him, this is the range that they need to be in. That is how the job salaries are picked out. It's not
Has an evaluation been done in the last 6 months on their new job from their old position they had prior to Mr. Baker coming here?
Most of them have not, because the time frame for us to do them is not. The way we have done the evaluations in the past is everybody gets evaluated once a year. And that was done back in June, which was the old positions. Now, when we take over the new positions, we will be doing evaluations again. Again, you have to have time frames that they get them done at.
I seen 60, 90, and 12 months.
Right.
We're in the 6 months.
We're,
Okay, where is their evaluation?
but not everybody was put in that position at the new time frame.
Then how
All
are they
of these
getting a
people,
raise?
if you look at Mr. Williams, and he's behind me,
Mhm.
he's been in, this is his third time he's been changed from being a maintenance tech, and now he is the director of maintenance. He has changed positions. So the reason he's changed positions is because of the fact the duties are required, he's qualified, he has been the one that has went on training for these positions.
Where's the evaluation?
It's coming.
Well, we can't pay them until we see their evaluation because there is a scale sometimes that you go through.
But you
So-
can't take a
You're gonna pay
position
them before
without
you see
having
their
a
job. You're
change.
gonna pay them before you see if they can do the job. They already been here for years.
Madam Vice Chair.
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes.
I think what Madam Vice Chair is getting at is, we've been provided with a spreadsheet with no information, and the person who has that information isn't here. And I would tend to agree with the Vice Chair that while we do appreciate everybody's work and do appreciate the need for salary increases, it may just be a bit premature to take this up at this moment.
Well, if I would say something,
Certainly.
if we do not approve these changes, then I got to keep people in that position, which is going to hinder the day-to-day operation of this agency. I understand these, as Ms. Ogden has explained, these not arbitrary numbers. There's a salary study that was done and approved by this agency prior to me coming on board, and we used that measure to seek to afford the monetary increases. The task goes with the money goes with the task, and so we got several vacant positions. We're trying to hire for those positions. It's least costly to this agency to assign those tasks instead of hiring a new site manager, for example. We got a young lady who had to move into central office to help carry out some office management duties, but she's also a site manager, and she carries on many other duties. And so we're really strapped for talent. And so I understand the commissioner's concern, but however, this study has already been done, and we will govern ourselves accordingly. We can rank ourselves according to the federal funds that we have brought in. That would kind of justify. And let's see what we rank there, and then let's see what we're going for that. We got a tremendous amount of issues that this administration is facing, and that we're seeking federal government assistance and to address those issues. And I think I would leave it at that point. It would hinder the day-to-day operation.
I'll entertain a motion.
I entertain a motion that we defer the salary wages until further notice, until evaluations are done, and until we come back across this again.
I have a motion from Madam Vice Chair to defer the salary adjustments until further notice. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Madam Vice Chair to defer the salary adjustments until further notice, seconded by Commissioner Cullins. Do we have any further discussion? A couple questions. Ms. Ogden, you were stating that the annual performance evaluations for employees are done. My understanding was that like March, April, leading up to the end of our fiscal year.
They're done previous to y'all's June meeting, yes,
Previous to our fiscal year June meeting.
right,
And we had those evaluations from last year.
right.
Okay. And so if we stay on course with that, we'll be having evaluations roughly sometime in the next 6 months.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Baker, the current, these additions, and I get, if I'm looking at this correctly, and I want to make sure I'm understanding this, so we're just looking at, I guess, the bottom tier of this purple one here?
And we have some,
No, I'm asking,
yeah,
that's the one we're looking at, is this
Yes.
bottom one in particular. The rest of this has already been approved and such and so forth. This bottom one you're looking at. Is that correct?
yes, let me see.
Gwen's not on there. Gwen's not on there. Gwen needs to be on there. That's the only other one.
That's Gwen Williams needs to be on. What's the difference in hers? I think it's we actually have the individual that's taking over some section.
Ms. Dyer, I came to you sometime
Hang on,
about.
I'm not sure.
No, to answer your question.
So my time. Hang on one second.
No, we're not. We are, if we look at, go one up, you'll see, you'll see, go one up, come down, you're gonna see King, Ed Williams, well, that one in the gold is the one that we're looking at, correct? Plus,
So,
plus the one in purple.
So we're looking at the gold, the one in gold, and the one in purple.
No, Betty and Arlen were in December
Okay,
because
Arlen.
that's those two. That's why I keep saying
Right.
December, because Betty and Arlen were in December. That one I know of. Because that's what she was telling me.
No, not her.
So, I'm sorry, just explain that to me just a little bit better, so I can have a better understanding. We are looking at, so we are looking at multiple, other than the purple?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Which ones?
You're looking at,
Would it be safe
you-
to say that if we're looking at any of these that would say that has a change of salary from 11.9 to 120?
yes.
and we
You
look-
got, if you come down, you come down there, in that gold, you'll see Director of Facility Maintenance, Assistant Director IT, HCV Specialist, you're gonna see the Central Office Manager, and then we had to add one more in the purple. And so that's what we're looking at. Those are the difference in salary. The one in gold, those positions in gold are the people that's taking on a tremendous amount of responsibilities and tasks that we're asking them. And actually, they holding down probably at minimum 2, if not 3 to 4 positions. I do know a couple employees that are holding down 3 positions, and another one's holding down 4.
Let me ask this question, and this again, just continuing on to the process. Which one of these, or what group of these salaries and salary adjustments, is this outside of what we've already approved in the budget?
Yes, one of the goals, we had to adjust according to the task. According to the tasks that were assigned those positions. Our assistant director IT is doing multiple positions. Some of that we can't discuss here, but there's a safety valve there for us, for the agency. We got come down ACV specialist. She's operating as pretty much the director of Section 8, counselor, intermission. You got come down central office manager. She's operating as site manager, training manager for public housing.
Let me just, okay, I understand that part, I get that part. So, again, so just to make sure that I'm still trying to stay on my topic, so these salaries are outside of what we've already budgeted for.
Yes.
And is that what this difference is? Let's just take the gold spreadsheet, and it says difference down here, and it comes down here to this. Is that how much we are expecting to be over our existing budget?
No.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Dyer.
Please,
Please, so I can better understand.
I think you need Jamie. I mean, this is her spreadsheet, but where it says max salary, I think what she has input in there is what she got from the pay scale website, which is the source for when she redid all the job descriptions and put the salary ranges in, that came from pay scale. That max salary, I think, is what that position maxes out at. Right? So
what we're not clear on is
I think
if these salaries are already in budget, and if they're not already in budget. That's what we're unclear on.
They're within range, but they're not within approval. But the difference, the increase is not approved budget. So what I would suggest is, Ms. Dyer, is that we have another meeting, just have that one item, and have Jamie to present that, and that can be Zoom, however they want to do it.
it'll have to be Jamie, because I mean, and that's what from my recollection, there were 4 names that were somewhere on this list that
It's still in the meeting.
haven't been approved yet, I do believe, based on
And
memory.
there's still more on that needs to be added to this.
No,
some
they're
people-
on here,
Yeah,
but that are not approved. But I don't want to say that definitely because she's not here, so I just say, we need her to.
This is her spreadsheet. And so what I would suggest, that we put postpone to January and call this,
Do it at the
do it in February.
February.
Yes. I think she may be agreeable for the next 5 minutes.
That's a possibility.
Yes.
She had a big crowd.
Yes.
Yeah, if she gets picked,
Hang on,
it's 5 weeks.
hang on. Madam Vice Chair, you have additional discussion?
Yes, the discussion is, some of these people, some of this staff that have gotten these raises, I question the salary. And like I originally said, we need an evaluation on the employees of the job they went into opposed to the job they came from. And like you said, we still have issues going around, so, I mean, these salary increases, like I said, I appreciate the work they do, like Commissioner Coleman says, they just got a bonus their self and show that they know how to do the job that they were put into. I'm sorry that you have to do multiple jobs, but from the organizational flow chart, what it came to, from where it's been to the previous administration, since you're gonna go back there, it has been enlarged. So how come everybody's doing 3 or 4 different jobs? So let's just move on to the next thing
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the agenda,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
time is running out.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, our motion was still on the floor to
We had second, we had
defer this
first.
until further notice. And that was by Madam Vice Chair, seconded by Mr. Collins. Is there any further discussion on salary adjustments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed have the same. That motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, excuse me.
Yes, sir. We have an update on credit card signer.
Yeah, this will be short and sweet. Joyce Cooper, whose name is on our credit card, it's on the housing authority's name, but her name is associated with the credit card. She's asked it to be removed. So we are recommending that Christina Curry's name be added. She is one of the most frequent users of the credit card anyway. So we're asking that her name be added, and the reason that I'm bringing it to the board is to give you approval. Plus, I have to submit to the bank the minutes from this meeting where you guys do approve it. So that's why I wanted to go on and get it in this meeting to get it going forward. And that's it.
I got a question. Since she's the most frequent user, should she also be the person whose name is under?
I keep the card.
Just a little bit of light humor. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to change the name from our credit card signer from Miss Joyce Cooper to Miss Christina Curry.
I make a motion. I second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dickerson to update the credit card signer from Miss Joyce Cooper to Miss Christina Curry, seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. As long as we have a quorum, we should be able to move forward. We have a quorum. We don't have to wait on one person. If I step out, as long as we have a quorum, we should be able to move forward.
Understand.
So why are we going back and forth?
Because he's a new commissioner and he doesn't know everything that we vote on.
Stop this discussion. We have a motion on the floor. We can only discuss at this point the update of the credit card signer. That is all.
That motion been made.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed have the same. Are you for or against or abstaining?
I voted for.
You say yes?
I voted for.
Okay. So that motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the HUD recovery plan.
I'd like to take this time to turn the floor over to Mr. Ed News, Director of Maintenance.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Before you have what you may have seen in the regularly scheduled board meeting, a form that looks similar to this, which was the HUD recovery plan. You have another one in front of you now because I made some recommendations to HUD for revisions in that plan that just changed a couple of dates. You see where it's in yellow and language in red, which changed the date of the due date for the housing authority to reach out to other housing authorities and try to pool their labor pool and use it to help us work on repairs in our agency. only thing that changed there, the deadline for that date with HUD, which HUD set, was June 30th, 2023. And I proposed to them to change that date and to also add the language in that, right there where you see it says, pending the feasibility of other agencies' ability to loan staff. Because we don't know if other agencies are willing to loan us that staff. And what this plan was designed for was to bring us out of substandard physical performance, which we know that we fell into this past fiscal year with REACT inspection. And I didn't want to leave those dates so close as to make it something that we couldn't achieve. So I proposed to them to change that date and to change the next date 3 lines down, and that's all I changed from their plan. Just a couple of dates, so it gave us time to try to get those things accomplished, so that we don't not live up to this recovery plan.
Weren't y'all reaching out to some students from Job Corps to help y'all with maintenance?
I heard talks of it, but I don't know anything about that now.
Okay. Mr. Baker, you had on your
Yes, ma'am, but there was the liability issue that came up and how they were going to receive payments. Initially, we agreed that we would pay Job Corps directly a lump sum based on the wages. The Job Corps came back and said that they can do that. We had to pay them individual, which would shift the liability. We would have to actually hire them as employees from the agency, which should shift the liability and increase that own agency. So we're still kind of working through that and see how we can find a third party contractor or something. So we got some solutions and we're working with it. That's where we are.
Also, in that recovery plan, you have another packet. Oh, we print it weird.
Are you talking about the mold remediation?
That's gonna go into it. Also in there, you have what is called a CM/PM schedule. That's corrective maintenance, preventative maintenance schedule. It's a few pages long. Just 1, 2, 3. I have them numbered. I think it's 4 pages. That is the plan that I created to send to HUD for our schedule of tasks to bring us out of substandard physical conditions. And it just simply states, what my plan is to have done that month and the deadline for it, and with that I have to submit all the documentation related to it to HUD. It's a pile of documentation, but it's just what I'm gonna have to do. And I gave them a brief summary of how I came to my plan, and they approved it.
Okay.
They said they approved it. One thing that I will go into, and like I told them throughout the year when we got some of these tasks knocked down, if we had time, we'd add other tasks to the list. And in that, we have quite a few units within the housing development that needs remediation, and it's something that has been worked on for a couple of months. I have got 2 quotes. Let contractors into probably 30 units. The whole process was started before me, but we let 2 sets of contractors into a total of 30 units and received proposals back from them for the remediation in those units. And I gave the lowest proposal that I have to you. And the other one was, oh my God. It's, if you see that paper that says CERM at the top.
They say what?
CERM. Yeah, We had CERM and we had Restoration One.
Oh,
Neither, and I went back and forth with both of them. Neither one of them offer bill backs. So when they go and tear these units out, I'm gonna have to have somebody to do bill backs too, but neither one of them offer bill backs.
Excuse me. Can you explain that just a little bit better so I can understand it better?
When they go in to remediate these units, whatever they,
Remediate.
to assess.
mold remediation, mold and mildew remediation.
Remediate.
Yes, sir. These are units that have been reported to us that have issues, and this is the proposal that had it taken care of.
So you saying when they go and remediate it, they don't put the stuff back in place? You have to find somebody else to put it
Neither
back
of them
in
offer
place?
bill backs.
No one.
It includes taking sheetrock off the walls. Off-
Yeah, neither.
So they're gonna go in and essentially tear up the unit.
But
And I had to put it back
And
in.
then we gotta pay somebody else to
come and rebuild it.
come and redo it.
Both of the proposals that I let people in those units, that's what it went to. But I don't want to get into inconveniencing the residents by keep on allowing people into their units as well.
Right.
How many units you have assessed already?
If you look at your proposal there, all the units that's there, and then I also have like an additional 5. I think there's 30 on there.
This will be the only ones that are currently.
These are the only ones that are currently in this proposal, and I think that's 30.
So as you get more, you will have to come back before the board to approve yet again.
Yes, sir.
And you said only 2, did you say only 2 proposals came through for that?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
How far, and you have to do it a wider one to see if you can get somebody that does both. Is it a possibility that,
It's a possibility, but this has already been so long, and I get people that's calling me every single day, beating down the doors to the point that I can't do my own stuff about their units, and I'm sitting here and I'm delaying, and I'm just losing time here, and people don't want to hear that.
So what about asbestos? Has that been detected?
I think that's everybody's on their return. So just let me go ahead and bring Commissioner Collins up to par. We're looking at the HUD recovery plan. There are some changes thus far with Mr. Woods, we already had voted on this in the last meeting, am I correct?
Yes, sir. It was
You
just,
have some dates that are revised.
yes, sir, which I had already submitted to HUD before the last meeting, but they just hadn't got back with a response yet. So I gave you the plan that they had already approved, that HUD had already approved.
All right, so go ahead and just a brief recap
Yes, sir.
for Commissioner Collins, and then continue on.
Mr. Collins, I think you was in the last meeting with the original recovery plan, right?
I'm generally familiar, yeah.
The only thing that changed on that is what you see in yellow.
Yeah.
It's 2 dates
Okay.
that were extended by 6 months, and some language over in the side.
And it's my understanding we were to submit that for approval by like the 16th or the 19th?
It was already, yes, sir.
Okay,
It had already been submitted.
okay. And so this updated plan that's their feedback on it? or-
No, that is
That's
the
all.
plan. The plan is theirs.
Okay.
The plan is what they gave to us.
Okay,
That's their plan for us.
okay,
We were allowed to make revisions or changes to it if we felt any needed to be made. So I submitted those revisions because I thought the plan was reasonable outside of maybe the dates on the two items there, and that they were holding us to being able to contract with another agency when that might not be feasible if another agency wasn't willing to lend us that service. So I submitted to them, my revisions on it. And they approved it and said, bring it back to your board for approval of this revised plan.
so if we approve it, then it's good to go.
This is the plan.
Got it. Thank you very much.
they gave you you asked for a little bit more time from June and July.
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the end of the year.
Yes, ma'am. And also in there's a document that you see that says CM and PM schedule. It's printed, I said it printed kind of weird there. That document accompanied that plan. It's a counterpart to it, and it's our actual plan for maintenance going forward to address the issues from REACT, to improve the REACT score. That's the whole idea of this plan, is to improve the REACT score.
Okay. And so going forward, if this plan works, you will use it again next year?
Some of the items on that plan, because it's a CM/PM schedule, some of those items are corrective maintenance items. And most of it on that's corrective maintenance is, well, there's a third document that you have from me, which is your prevalence report. Yes. If you look at the first item on that prevalence report, it says health and safety. You see you missing pressure relief valves. That's on the water heaters. We took 291, we had 291 instances of this deficiency on our last REACT inspection. The water heaters have been installed in these units since like 2012. Plumbing on them has always been the same. You see the previous count for that same defect was 7. They found that deficiency 7 times, but the water heaters are the same. So there's a change in the way that the inspectors looked at it, which caused us an increase in points lost for that. We lost 17.6% of our points for that deficiency. And like it's been said many times, the maintenance department here is understaffed. So when I created this CM/PM schedule, I did that with that in mind, that I didn't want to create this plan that was so elaborate and unfeasible that we couldn't,
Right,
we could never achieve it.
right.
So because it's binding, we have to do this, and I have to submit all the documentation to keep it in order. And I mean, currently I have to do it with the same 4 guys that I got. So, and I mean, it's still gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to get them to go and do all of this stuff, track the paperwork, do the regular stuff, do the emergency stuff, do the grounds with the same 4 guys.
Right. And that's what we were talking last month at the meeting, where we were talking about the temporary agencies and everything like that, trying to find y'all help and everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. And like we said, even that, you would still have to put somebody from the agency
Yeah.
with those temps.
Right.
To do
They
it.
couldn't be by themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's what it was on the HUD recovery plan,
All right.
Mr. Cummings. And then I went I was speaking about the CM/PM schedule, because I can add items onto it throughout the year as we take care of some of these deficiencies.
Okay.
I can add items onto it, and mold and mildew is in the prevalence report, but it's a health risk to the tenants as well. And we received a couple of proposals to have I think the total count is 30.
27 on that.
27 on this one.
27 units?
27 27.
On this.
You count them? Ms. Kim?
Yeah, there's 27 on this paperwork, but
And
you've
then
got an additional.
I have probably an additional 5 to have those units have some remediation work done in those units. The funds.
Yeah. Are you recording? Still, okay. The funds for this mold remediation, when HUD came down, when they were here for their visit, we had several capital fund years that were open. I'm not gonna go in all the details here, but capital funds, you have a short window of time to actually spend those funds, or else you lose them. So I worked with Erica Alderman from HUD to revise the plans to include some of, and with maintenance input, especially Ed, on what we needed to focus on, because some of the deadlines are coming up on these capital funds. And so we put mold remediation as one of the high priority items, and also the bathrooms in Brooklyn homes, which kind of has come up in the prior fiscal year quite often because we ended up redoing several bathrooms
Right.
completely just because Brooklyn bathrooms all of a sudden just became a huge issue. So we sort of bumped those up to the top of the list. So that's where the money will come from to do this mold remediation. And we do need contracts in place by soon.
February
By the
22nd.
end of the February 20. It's something that should be approved, like the contracts, because of their size, will have to be approved by the board. So that's just something to look forward to for the next board meeting, that these two items will probably be up for your approval so that we can get those funds obligated. And then we still have time to spend after that, but the obligation date is just so that you still get to use the money.
Okay. And so in the future, Mr. Williams, is it possible, not to put too much work on you, but as you going through these transitions of repair, that you give us a synopsis of where you're at, so when the exam and the audit and all these comes, it won't be in our face of what we're lacking and what we need in the future?
Yes, ma'am. I don't see any reason why I couldn't do that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, just to go back to the question that I had there previously. So again, with this CERM company to do the mold and mildew remediation, we're still going to have to spend extra funds to build back.
Yes, sir. The two companies that we were able to get people to come out and look at the units for, which probably caused all kind of discomfort for those residents, and they've been calling ever since we let those people into those units. But we let two separate contractors in. Neither of those contractors does build backs. They don't put it back. We have had it done by Paul Davis before, and they do build backs. But the last time we had one unit done by Paul Davis, it stayed out of commission for almost a year.
So do you have a list of contractors that we could present for the board that we can talk to?
Can I, I'm sorry, can I finish, please? Okay, so, other than, and I'm still wrapping my mind around the build back, having to build that back. And
Me
those
too.
funds, Ms. Dyer, if I'm correct, those funds are coming out of capital funds,
Yes.
correct? Can the build back funds also come out of capital funds?
I don't see why not, it's part of the
It's
same.
part of the same thing.
So,
I mean, that is a normal capital expense, I mean, so yes.
so even if we go through and approve this, will we still have to come back and approve the additional capital funds for the build back?
For the contract, if
For the
it's, if it's with a different contract or whatever, yes, that would just be another contract approval unless it was under
Under
what, $100,000 that requires board approval, which
Okay.
I don't see it being.
I don't think it will be.
And this, when we go through this process, it will only be for the units that's on this list, am I correct?
I have 5 additional that came up since this, which I plan to sole source once that gets started, if we can get this contract in place. Because they'll be here doing the work then. And like I said, this whole thing started like, I don't know how long ago. Few months now, so the people have been waiting on this, and it benefits the residents. It
I
directly
understand.
benefits the residents.
I understand that part. What I'm looking at is, and I know we get mold and mildew is a lot. Those are regular complaints that we bring in as far as maintenance is concerned. My question is, through this process, so every month we're going to be reapproving a new batch of mold and mildew remediation and build back.
I would hope not. I would hope not. We asked people to report their issues, and this is what we got back. Now, since then, I have had some other ones come up.
That's all I have for now. Madam Vice Chair, you had questions.
Oh, no.
Are either of the contractors that have come out and looked at it, are they general contractors that would be willing to subcontract out the rebuild afterwards? So we don't have to enter into two separate contracts?
Restoration One told me that they have a GC that they usually work with. The difference in the two quotes was almost like $150,000.
Well,
And neither one, and
what's the ballpark for it?
neither one of them did build backs. The quote from Restoration One was like $390,000. I mean, just to go ahead and tell you.
So you're saying actually when they come out to evaluate, that's a fee coming from us for their service?
Yes, did we say that? No, I think they quoted for free.
Quote.
I think they both quoted for free.
They quote for free?
I think they both quoted for free.
But you,
Okay, but that's good.
We've
But you're
used
al-
Restoration One. in the
We
past,
have
too.
it. They 132 McDade.
Uh-huh, that was a,
That was pretty
But
bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
but our ultimate goal is to find a the build back that can replace the sheet rock after they assess it.
Whoa.
That's our goal.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. It'd be
Right.
Whatever additional.
whatever additional,
Yeah.
and that's a problem. I don't know what that is going to entail. I don't know what all they're going to be taking out because they don't know. They have to go in, open the rock, find out what's wrong, and then you can figure out what needs to be built back.
So can you get a list of contractors and see if we can ask them some questions of how to go forward and how we can get this completed and done?
Multiple awards contract. If I can get some of them to enter into one, I'm trying to build one now, but I can't get people that want to enter into it because to take a contract and lock them into giving you a price on providing a service
So-
for a determined amount of time, and then labor costs go up, material costs go up.
So
And I can put in variances for that, but a lot of contractors don't want to lock themselves into something like that.
Once again, try another public housing and see what they have done in the past, if they had that issue. We have Jessup right up the street, we have Savannah, we have Warren Robins, we have Macon. Call them and see who they use for that situation. And let us know what you found out.
Yes, ma'am.
What plan do you have going forward once this construction go on and they start repairing the units? What's the plan for the tenants being assigned to somewhere to stay? What's that plan?
I have to speak with the rest of the administration, should this even be approved, to figure out how we are going to displace these residents because they can't stay in the unit during
Not
remediation.
under conditions.
Right.
Yes, sir. And I remember you asked earlier about asbestos and lead testing and all that. And yes, on page 2, yes, sir, does provide those tests, and anything that comes back for that, they take care of the abatement. Well, not really the abatement process on that because there is abatement. There's an additional charge for abatement as well, and for handling those hazardous materials. Oh God, I don't want to say that. I do have the
So
number
what
on
you
that
said
too,
is
though.
it's a work in progress. You're trying to figure out how to reassign the tenants to units that are not in bad shape or infected with this condition.
Yes, sir. A couple of the residents we planning to move out of those units. We're actually working on getting units ready for those now to move them out of those units.
So you're asking people to actually report this, and don't let it go to the point where it gets.
Yes, sir. But
For years I know of it. Kim, you know, I know for years. This is nothing that just started happening.
Yes,
I
sir.
heard you say that this 3 months. No. This been a grip. This been
He
a
was
while.
talking
I
about
said the process started 3 months ago. Somebody trying to actually address it started 3 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That didn't have nothing to do with conditions. Okay. That's all I had.
In the meantime, if we have to move tenants out in order to repair their unit, is there any vacant units that's already fixed, or are they vacant units that's in the process of being completed that we can switch them out into those units? And if they choose to stay in the one we switch, and don't only do certain many at a time. And once you finish their unit, if they don't want to move back in it, we can process it for somebody else for the unit that you're getting ready to fix.
That's the exact plan.
Okay. All right.
All right, commissioners, how do you want to handle this? You want to do one motion for the HUD recovery plan and then another motion for the CERM contract, or do you want to do it all at once? I will entertain the motion.
I entertain a motion that we, pass the HUD recovery plan for the SHRM, is that SHRM? And for the CPM and the build back and all that's included that has to be done to, complete this task.
I have a motion by Madam Vice Chair to approve the HUD recovery plan and the CERM contract for mold and mildew remediation.
Second.
I would second that motion.
Which one?
No.
You gonna put them on?
Seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Do we have any further discussion?
I have one additional question on the CERM contract. If we were to get, what's the date that we need to have that approved to be under the capital funding?
February the 22nd.
22nd.
Contract in place by February 22nd.
Okay.
Okay.
And that would, to do the rebuild under the same capital funding, we would also have to have that approved by February 22nd to fall under this year's capital funding or the open year's capital funding?
Yes, sir.
Well, there's also one that,
Does-
there's also a capital fund that
Comes
doesn't
up.
have to be obligated until
Till
April.
So
So-
There's that
Yes.
one.
we could theoretically buy ourselves a little bit more time
Yes, sir.
to find that. Okay, very good. That's it.
You have another comment, Mr. Williams?
No, it's not about anything that y'all already talked about. Sharon already said it. Sharon already said it. It will be coming up about Brooklyn bathrooms. Anybody who's been there for a while, they probably done heard about that. But
I'm glad we're addressing this.
I am working on that. Yeah, I am working on that.
Thank you.
Go.
No, go ahead, sir.
Just big picture, because of the capital funding mechanisms, this currently fits within our budget, the budget of the Housing Authority generally.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a totally separate piece.
Sure.
But yes.
It has no implication on the.
On the operating budget, no.
Perfect.
Question. And I'm sorry, again,
I'm
we
done.
need to get together so we can,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of moving parts here. And just, this may not be able to be answered at this time, but I know that we've already signed a work with the developer to begin the RAD process for this, for our communities and such and so forth. Is there the potential for any of this potentially damaging our prospective bids or going through that RAD process? Whoever may be able to answer.
I wouldn't think so, because part of the RAD process, you have to have a physical needs assessment done anyway, so they're gonna be looking at things you did and things you haven't done that you need to do, so it would just be part of the overall evaluation of your properties, right?
Right. Got to be an assessment done. The only challenge we're gonna have is gonna be staff. But that's way down the line, so, initially, no.
You're concerned about spending capital funds and then doing RAD, whether it prevents you from it.
Yeah.
No, because you have to spend your
Yeah,
capital
I
fund, yeah.
don't know, yeah.
The only
I
thing
know
that
that-
the only thing that would happen is if you have like whatever, like when you are ready to go with RAD or whatever, and you're ready to actually do something, whatever unspent capital funds you might have that are still able to be obligated, you haven't lost them yet for not using them, but what's available, you have those as, you know, they're yours to keep or whatever. You don't lose those. So, you know, whatever that pot of money might have been, it's
still there.
it's still there.
Okay.
But, you know, I don't think we should not do stuff to.
No, I'm not
Okay.
suggesting
No,
that.
I'm not saying you are, but, I mean, these, especially the Brooklyn bathrooms, that happened, you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago. That started happening when some, you know, people would come in and say, excuse me, I need $7,000 because, you know, this bathroom in this whatever Brooklyn Homes fell apart, the wall fell in, or something like that. Just-
All right, all right, let's go.
Okay, so any further discussion before we make the vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed have the same? That motion passes unanimously. Next up is Boys and Girls Club.
She's on Zoom. Miss Cooper is on Zoom,
Okay.
so we can go. Miss Cooper, are you there? Miss Cooper? Excuse me.
Hey Joyce, can you hear us?
This is Nikki. There's nothing wrong with the audio in my end.
Thank you.
Are you guys loud and clear?
So we can, she's on, she can hear. You check, make sure she's not muted. She's not muted. Okay, go ahead.
What? Okay.
Joyce, can you hear?
Joyce.
proceed, I guess, other than whatever
Yeah, we can go
this
ahead.
part of it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes,
with the Boys and Girls Club, my understanding is that they've already vacated our facilities.
yes, sir.
Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And so, can you give us a brief update? I guess this is just supposed to be a brief update on the Boys and Girls Club? And what's the plan moving forward?
The boys, well, as you have spoken, they have vacated our premises. We have requested since July that they provide us with reports of them validating that they serving our kids. They have, to this date, have failed to give us any reports or give us any audit of those reports. And that's kind of where we are. We want to pay them, but they won't fulfill their obligation of this contract and give us the necessary documentation that they are actually serving our kids. Mr. Dolan did send me an email, I think I shared with everyone, and we responded to, we're asking for the reports that would do, audit reports that would do, and 13 line item budgets. They have failed to produce any of that since I've been here.
So where we at on the Boys Club is this. When we met on December the 20th, it was said that the Boys and Girls Club would not do business with us under this present administration. Going forward, Mr. Baker withheld their last 2 quarters of payment of the last year because they were not in the understanding of who was supposed to keep the building maintenance up or the park grounds up. And so when I asked him after the December 20th meeting, have they gotten paid yet? He then changed and said that he wanted a report and a line item of all the expenditures. So here is all the reports from all the quarters. And Mr. Dolan is expected to get paid because the fees that they get from HUD is to pay for the programs for the children. And so he emailed these reports, and they're right here.
Wait a minute. Okay. Yes, ma'am. May we have the reports?
Yeah, you can have them.
Okay, thank you.
I can email them to you because this is my copy. I can email it to you.
Okay, well, we verify that.
Okay.
And we move forward. Has he, in that report, well, initially, let me go back to initially. Not only did we ask for the improvement of the maintenance of our facility at the time, we continued to, from day one, we asked for this report. So we'll move forward with that. And when we met, and when you and I met with Commissioner Dickerson, since they have vacated our report out of good faith, we said we were no longer, we would remove that barrier and then move forward with that. Ms. Donna?
Yeah, you want me just to give a little history?
Sure.
Okay. I started in 2009. The MOU with the Boys and Girls Club has been the same exact MOU with different dates on it every year for at least as long as I've been here. When I first started working here, we did get, there's several reports and, attendance and that type stuff that was asked for in the MOU, and they did send that here. And we did have somebody here verifying, because we got a roster from each location, and we did have someone here verifying that, those kids were attending and they were housing. And then right around the time of the recession, and we were and also around the time, this doesn't mean anything to most of y'all, but Georgia HAP lawsuit, I know you remember that. we were worried, because we don't pay for this out of our federal funds, we pay it out of non-federal, and we were worried about our funding, because there was this lawsuit between HUD and Georgia HAP, and we were thinking the funding was gonna go away, so we just went to the Boys and Girls Club and said, hey, we need to give you guys a heads up, we might not be able to continue this the way we are because we don't know about our funding. And they didn't like it, but they were like, okay, we understand or whatever. And we were asked by the board at that time to cut spending, so that's what we did. Then we go back to the board meeting, and in the board meeting, it was like complete reversal, because in the past we were like, you know, we need the rosters, we need all this stuff, and then in the board meeting it turned around and became, well, we think the Boys and Girls Club is a good program, so does it really matter if they're our kids or somebody else's kids? It's keeping kids off the street. So I think it's a good thing. We're going to continue to fund it as is, so it doesn't really matter if they're our kids or not. So the report of who was going, the roster of kids kind of dwindled, and it wasn't checked anymore because it didn't matter. The reports that they were sending periodically, I won't even say that they sent everyone consistently. I don't really know because I wasn't the one on the receiving end of them. But as far as I know, the reports kind of dwindled off also. And although the MOU never changed, just the way it was handled day to day changed into them billing us just paying, and then, you know, next year we signed up for a new MOU. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction that I saw between the Housing Authority and the Boys and Girls Club as far as, you know, making sure that this was benefiting our kids and stuff like that.
Well, he mentioned that Ms. Strickland prior was sending the reports to them since she was on the board of the Boys and Girls Club. But one of the issues that he had, as I said before, was the park. Because he said when the Boys and Girls Club is open, those children are only in the park for an hour. And his staff goes out there and cleans it up. But the issue is, when he met Brunswick, Mr. Baker, they wanted them to clean it up the next morning. But the Boys and Girls Club said the next day, after it's been closed in the evening, there's drug paraphernalia, there's alcohol bottles, and he's not gonna have his staff clean that up because the children in the park did not do that. And so that was where the first argument went on December the 20th, when we had this special call meeting, and Mr. Dickinson and I was in that meeting, and that's what it was said. They were misunderstanding the writing on the MOU was who was responsible for the soft maintenance and the hard maintenance. The hard maintenance was the doors, the windows that was needed to be repaired. The soft maintenance is the Boys Club said they're only responsible for keeping the floors mopped, swept, if a child spills milk, the difference between soft and hard maintenance. And that's where the discord came. And so, but now we're here. They're not partnership in McIntyre Court and Glenvilla, which they have been a lifetime partnership. If it's anything else that should have been fixed or repaired, I'm sure we could have come together and discussed that. But that's not how it initially went. So now we're here, and they would like to get paid. And like I said, I will send you the reports after the meeting. These are the reports here of how many kids they serve, their programs they do seasonally, and everything else. I read the report.
Let me.
I'm sorry. Is it okay with you, I believe?
Yes.
Ms.
Okay.
Ogden?
I will tell you, I came into this seat after Boys and Girls Club had already vacated and all of that. But I was a site manager at McIntyre Court since 2011. They never, to my knowledge, never cleaned up the park, ever. I mean, maintenance guys went out there every day, and maintenance guys cleaned the park. Yes, there are some of those things out there. The maintenance inside the building. Our maintenance guys went ahead and repaired windows, repaired doors, repaired multiple times the stalls to the bathrooms, the urinals, all of that. The only time that I know of anything that they went ahead and repaired is there was a actual resident that lived in Little Brooklyn that was there for maybe a month, and he came and asked the site office, hey, do you mind? I know your guys are busy. I've got this and this broken. Can we go ahead and do it? To my knowledge, that's the only time that the Boys and Girls Club in McIntyre Court fixed anything. Now, the Glenvilla Boys and Girls Club, I can't tell you the answer on that one because that's before 2011 whenever I was at the other office. But McIntyre Court office, like I said, as far as cleaning up, I asked them to repair the what used to be the football field goals several times. One of the city rec people literally took what I call a rubber boot for a plumbing and put it on either side and then put a hose clamp on it because of the fact that the Boys and Girls Club would not go ahead and fix the football goal. And when I asked to go ahead and get it repaired, we were told just to take it down because it could not be repaired the way it is because the staff that we had at that time, we did not have a welder.
I apologize. I'm going to interrupt you. I don't think maintenance at this point or picking up because they have opted to exercise the one part of the MOU which says that they can leave our facilities. So I don't want to get too much involved into the maintenance portion at this point because it's a moot point. They've exercised that portion of the MOU.
So, well, let me say this. The December meeting was a meeting that I was not allowed to speak by Madam Vice Chair. It was an attack on my character, my manhood, and my intellect. They did not come in here to try to rectify this, which we have worked out a solution to working with the Boys and Girls Club. I won't be on the record as that. I won't be on the record saying that I never mandated that they clean, go and pick up. I never remember that, but I did ask them to and require them to execute the MOU that the chair said that she signed repeatedly and that she understood the contract, but they continue to sign this contract. All we were asking is for the maintenance of our facilities, validation that you're serving our kids, and a report of those kids. Let us validate that those kids live in our unit, and we would pay you for that and move on. How it got to where it got, I was thoroughly disrespected. The director at the time turned his back to me the whole time. They spoke down to me.
Let's move on past that part. Let's move on past that part, Mr. Baker.
Okay.
Can I say one thing?
Hang on, Mr. Baker, were you finished?
I'm done. I'm done.
Go
Can
ahead,
I
Vice
say,
Chair.
yes, can I say one thing? There is never a time, Mr. Baker, that we're ever in a meeting that I stifle you and tell you not to speak. You came into, but we're not gonna get into the logistics of what really happened, but I didn't stifle you from talking. You could be talking because you were the interim ED, so you had the floor. We put y'all together so we can find out initially why we lost the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. That's why we came together, because I did not come to the October 17th meeting. And then it was recorded. We didn't take minutes, but it was recorded. And I did not tell you that you could not speak, and I did not stifle you from speaking.
That's not true, Madam Vice President. Thank you.
Questions? Madam Vice Chair, because apparently you had an opportunity to review the unit. Approximately how many children are being currently served?
They're broken down by season. They're broken down by winter, spring, summer, and fall. So I can't tell you a number. You have to go through these reports and read what they have and what they do and the programs that they provide.
Okay. Question, my next additional question is, do we currently have any other contractor vendors that are currently not abiding by the MOUs that they've signed?
Right now, this is not the time for
I'm not
that.
asking that. I'm asking the ED if we currently have any other contractors or vendors who are not abiding by the MOUs they've signed.
We can pick that up at a later date. We only have, see, Alan and I asked you
No,
that we have a
this
meeting.
is dealing with Boys and Girls Club.
Not at this particular time, but we're looking at all MOUs at this particular time, evaluating every.
Okay, thank you. So you will receive an email, and I imagine you will also email all that stuff to the board as well?
I can email it to Mr. Baker and he can email it to, yeah.
However, I think that's something that the board needs to receive as well. And then we can look forward to, say, in our regular February, maybe March at the latest, some type of further presentation from you on the rest of the stuff surrounding
So what will
Boys and
happen?
Girls Club.
What will happen? Did yours? No.
Hello?
Hey, I don't, Akeem's got my microphone fixed. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I didn't know if y'all had questions for me regarding the Boys and Girls Club. I think Miss Ogden asked that I may have to speak on it, so I don't.
Miss Cooper.
Yes, sir.
When you visited the Boys and Girls Club, what did you see?
Are you referencing the property of, I think it's Terrell Thomas, or are you referencing the Glenville and McIntyre?
The McIntyre, I believe. Both properties.
But, okay, so,
Miss Cooper.
Hang on, Madam Vice
Yes.
Wait a
Chair.
minute.
Hang on,
Yes,
Madam
ma'am.
Vice Chair. Hang on, Madam Vice Chair.
You're going back to something.
Go ahead.
Past that.
Visiting the McIntyre Court and Glenville facilities that the Boys and Girls Club, were operating out of. I did a presentation, I had pictures, slides, just with the conditions of both facilities, outside, inside, just, the maintenance of it. And at the time we did those visits, I didn't have a copy of the MOU, until later, and as Ms. New, agreed on the December 20th meeting, that the MOU was a little unclear, kind of confusing. So, yeah, there was just a lot that was seen compared to the visit that we made to the Terrell Thomas Center off of Habersham.
Yes.
And the only reason why we went to that location, it was during the summertime, so the other locations were, within the schools, and we weren't, so it was a pleasant visit. I thought we were invited in on a tour.
Miss Cooper.
Yes.
In reference to, and you may not be aware of this, but in reference to the, I guess, is that with the current reports we have?
In reference to the report, there was night and day between two sites.
That's not what I'm asking. And I don't want to, because I don't want to tie up too much time here. I know we all have the presentation that Ms. Cooper provided us with, and I think that was a good part of the emails that we received. But again, is there anything at this point with Ms. Cooper that we are currently not revisiting?
No, sir. The only thing, what I would, and thank you, Ms. Cooper, once we get the reports from Vice Chair Bailey will go ahead and assign a staff member to evaluate, to validate that they are our kids, and then we'll make a recommendation prior to the next board meeting who our residents, and then we will make a recommendation payment accordingly. I think it's for 75 kids, and so we hope to have, bless you, we hope to have this resolved prior to the board meeting and the release of funds. That's this administration goal.
And if anybody needs to revisit the rebuttal that the Boys and Girls Club submitted, they submitted it on August the 15th. And I have it right here, so it should be in your email.
Yeah, and I also, I think this was in reference to the letter that was said to have been dropped off at the Housing Authority that none of us were aware of. But I have since obtained a copy of that rebuttal that was addressed to me and wasn't shared with me. But I also have, the documentation to go against Mr. Drayton Austin's rebuttal.
What, I'm sorry.
What is that?
Compile all that, let's look forward to it next month. I think that's the best
Okay.
idea.
Well, let's move forward. We'll compile that, but in the meantime, let's try to resolve, let's validate that the list that Vice Chair, Madam Vice Chair has, that they are our kids that live in our public housing in Section 8, and then we will make a recommendation accordingly. And anything in addition to that, then
Can I say at our next meeting, if we want to discuss the Boys and Girls Club, I know they're not partnering with us as far as McIntyre and Gila Villa. I don't know about all the other communities, but to my understanding, if we're going to talk about who attends the Boys and Girls Club on the Housing Authority, we need to have a representative there, because it was talked about whether the kids living there and the kids not living in there. Some of them, they pay a small fee and they don't pay in the summertime.
yes, ma'am.
And so for us to get a better understanding of how they operate, we need somebody from the Boys Club to come and verify and clarify these questions.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is that all for Boys and Girls Club?
On the reports that have been submitted, are those are from
Mr. Dolan
Mr.
himself.
Dolan? And did he indicate that he had sent those in, or he just provided them to you?
No, he provided them to me.
Only you said?
Yes.
Okay, that was
Yes.
one main question. And then you've indicated that they don't want to continue a relationship with us.
Under this present administration.
That, to me, seems like an unacceptable result. I think we need to, if it's something that can be solved, it's something we all need to work diligently to solve. That's a great organization that's done a lot for the community, and I'm sure a lot for the organization of the course. So that's my only thought. It would be, let's try to put aside whatever's happened and see if there's a path forward.
Well, I think that's, Commissioner, in all fairness, I think there's always been a path forward. We always requested was accountability, which turned into character assassination. So that's a lot.
I understand.
That don't need to be on record, but to have that.
Right, so again, any further discussion about this Boys and Girls Club, so we can move on to the next topic? We're done with that for now? You'll have something for us by our regular meeting in February?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Sea Island, what's next? Sea Island.
Sea Island, there was we're in a situation that we have 90% of our residents that are zero renters. Our rent roll is now, we probably would say about 1,000 maybe, if that.
know it's more than that,
Mhm.
but it's close to 40%
Yeah.
who get a utility allowance, meaning that they have no income.
Yeah, so what
Public housing.
What we end up doing, Sea Island has numerous positions, hundreds of positions, multiple hundreds of positions available. And they have to go outside, they have to go outside the community, outside the state, and even the country to bring in workers and employees. We forge a relationship and a partnership with Sea Island that would allow our residents to have top consideration at $20 an hour, with full benefits, which means educational and other benefits that Sea Island has. They did an economic impact study for us that came up to $7.9 million, I believe, annually. And they gave us I think 250, what's the number? 250 slots. 280 slots for our residents and to create upward mobility. We got I got a call from one of the organizers that a commissioner called there and said there may be, that commissioner called and had issues. I don't want to put anything more than that, but it had, we're maintaining that relationship with Sea Island. They're going to, they provide transportation to our residents to get there, and they made it convenient for us to have job fairs here for our residents. So that's a process we have to go through. And so we felt, this administration felt that it was a great opportunity to move our residents and to become taxpayers and for upward mobility. So that's where we are on Sea Island. I think that it's in the best interest of this agency that we provide these type of opportunities where we have good local partners, good employers who want to be corporate responsible and help us in our challenge to provide upward mobility and transition housing for our residents. But that behavior is going to, I'm not sure what the repercussion of that at this point.
Are you finished, Mr. Baker?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's go back. I have no problem with our residents getting a job, getting a high income job. But here at the Brunswick Housing Authority, anybody that the administrator wants to partnership with, they have to come before the board. Sea Island has not come before the board and presented us with their expectations of what they will offer our residents. And I did call Sea Island because it was written up on a listing that we were partnership with Sea Island. I was not aware that we were partnership with Sea Island. So I did call Sea Island and talk to the lady and ask them to come to our February meeting to present to us what they are going to offer our residents. And that's how that went. And that is the MOU for the Board of Commissioners. Anytime, we don't have no problem with people partnership, but we don't need to be blindsided. So we need them to come and present to the board like we've been doing ever since you've been here, Mr. Baker. And then we can decide whether we want to partnership with them and find out if they're funding or not need any funding money.
Madam Vice President, I was not aware that anyone that was coming to in a partnership that was brought to, that we partnered with, that is not requiring funding from this agency, that was required. That was never that requirement was never presented to me. I do know that there is a policy in place that, anything over 100,000 or more that's requesting funding for us. Since Sea Island had not requested funding for us, but they were putting their money and their resources, their time, their effort, their staff. That was a day-to-day operation. It was a great, it's a great partnership, and that, Madam Vice President, that this is the first time I'm hearing from this commissioner, but I would govern myself accordingly.
Point of order, can I ask a question? Is that the responsibility of the executive director or staff to share with us those type of partnerships before they move forward?
Are you asking, so I don't know that it has to have board approval to coordinate with Sea Island. I don't think that requires board approval. Should, sort of separate and apart from that, just communicating about it. If one of you has a question, you all can talk about it, but I don't know that doing what was done requires board approval.
Yeah, because Goodwill is not asking for funding, and they presented their case here. And so it doesn't matter whether they want funding or not. We want to know the people who wants to come in partnership with Housing Authority and be in contact with our residents. We hold the policies and procedures. So if they do something through their program, we have to be aware of what they're offering and what they're not offering, and if they make a discrepancy. So I'm not saying that you can't call to get partnerships with us. I'm just saying to present them before the board so I know they will be partnering with, we'll be deciding, all of us, whether they'll be partnering with us or not.
Any further?
Well, for Commissioner Coleman, understanding, because I don't know how much training you received yet, but commissioners are not supposed to get involved in day-to-day operations. So I see this as getting involved in day-to-day operations of what the commission's doing. By us was happening to deal with, we'll be in special call meetings every week. We will be in meetings every week to approve a partnership that can possibly help our residents get jobs and be the best that they could ever be. And to have a partnership with Sea Island, that has never happened in the history of this organization. And to be sitting here going back and forth, and then for a partner to be called by one of us without us knowing, because this is the first time I'm hearing about it, without us knowing, I think that was irresponsible. So that's my point on the record.
We're not calling a special call meeting to partnership with Sea Island because we do partnerships, presentations during regular monthly meetings. Why this was put on the agenda, I don't know. This is why I came here to find out. But when we do partnerships or somebody wants to partnership with us, they come before our regular monthly meetings. We don't call special call meetings to vote on partnerships.
Mr. Hartman, are we allowed as commissioners to call partners and question them on what type of partnerships that has been created with our staff? Are we allowed to do that?
So allowed and proper are sort of two different.
What proper?
Whatever so you all are allowed to do.
Whatever your legal the legal terms.
Well,
I just want to get clear. I want to be clear on this.
Yeah, so the question is, without talking to the board, is it right for, one board member to do that? Probably not.
But if I didn't know about the partnership and what they offered, I just wanted to know what they offered because it wasn't told to us. It was just put on paper that we're partnershiping with Sea Island.
Question, Madam Vice Chair. You can't say you didn't know about the partnership, so that's why you called.
No. What I'm saying is, I didn't know that we had a partnership with them because the partnership to ask was not presented before the board.
I think my suggestion would be to ask, and I'm not saying you did or didn't do this, but to ask staff to report on that partnership instead of going directly to the outside.
Well, sometimes in the past, I can't speak for all the other commissioners, things are done over our head and then come back and told us after it's done. And so, I just wanted to know what they had to offer, because like I said, I've been seeing it in our meetings and everything, and I know they didn't come and present before the board. And going forward, I think this is what we need to do, because how we gonna have a program person looking over our programs and seeing if they're, living by the MOU that we give out, if we don't know what they're offering our residents? That's all I'm saying.
Right, and this may be a relationship without an MOU. It's just an accommodation for
Right.
the residents, and so
Right.
I'm not sure there's anything necessarily for board approval as far as I understand the relationship.
But this was
That's how
also.
we- This is how we've done in the past since I've been on the board, whether they want it funded, whether or not. And this is how, I mean, why change now? This is how it was done, to understand what's going on.
Mr. Becker, you were next.
This wasn't, the board, the commissioners were pretty aware of, we brought our intentions to the board before, prior to this understanding and this agreement, and I think we're still working on the MOU, but Seattle has moved forward in good faith with us, but the board was pretty aware this wasn't something that's new. I'm pretty sure we can go and find emails, and we can recoup Mr. Hakeem, if you will, go and research the emails and make sure all the commissioners have the emails associated prior to this meeting. So the board was aware of this potential partnership and what we're talking to. So I don't know what to say about that. The board did not know. But we did not.
Hang on, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay, it's not that
Hang on,
we.
Madam Vice Chair.
Okay.
Well, Madam Vice Chair, go ahead.
Ms. Dyer, what's next?
Okay, not that we need to go back to doing things the way we used to do them, I'm just gonna compare this to what we've done in the past. If somebody wanted to have a relationship with the housing authority, normally it would be brought up in like discussion items or whatever in the board agenda, and it was like so-and-so contacted me and they wanted to do this, etc. Not for board approval, to just get the discussion started on whether or not you wanted to have a relationship with that organization, or whether or not it would be something the board did need to approve, or would it be an RFP, or would there be an MOU with them. However it would be, it was usually just brought up as part of the meeting during the end of the meeting as a discussion item. And then it would be a group discussion on how to move forward with it.
Now last year with the summer program.
Oh, I'm not even talking about
I'm just
that.
talking about programs, period. I've seen Sea Island in the paperwork. All I'm saying is I've seen their name. I did not know what they wanted to offer. All I'm saying is, if you want them, but bring them to the board. We might have questions to ask them and what they're offering the residents. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't matter whether they have an MOU. It doesn't matter. I just want to know who's partnershiping with Housing Authority. That's all. And if we have any questions for them, that's all I'm asking.
I'm sorry. Mr.
You know I've
Washington.
got some questions. I just was asking, so, Mr. Hartman, so were you saying that basically, because it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, Vice Chairman, it sounds like you just want to make you be aware of it, but at the same time, as, I don't know, the bylaws or the charter for the Board of Commissioners, is it something that, as an executive director, that he has to do?
That's up to the five of them set the rules, but
Is there a rule in place currently that says he has to bring any potential partnerships that don't require funding to the board?
I'm not aware of it.
That's all I was, so technically speaking, legally speaking, he doesn't have to do it, is what I'm just asking for clarification. You're saying you would like him to, but there's nothing in writing that has ever said it has to be done.
There's nothing in writing. I never seen nothing in writing that said it has to be done. I'm just going by the protocol. And I don't know if y'all look at Brunswick Housing Authority Board of Commissioners different from anybody else, but at the city commissioners, the Glenn County Commissioners meeting, when they have new people or new people coming in to serve the community and the residents, they want to be aware of who these people are. We are no different. We're in a smaller scope. We're underneath the housing authority. We have 5 board of commissioners. I don't know about the rest of them, but I like to be aware of the people that are going to be partnershiping with housing, whether they want funding or not. Because if the ball drops and something goes wrong, they're gonna look at us. They're gonna look at us. And all we're gonna do is say, they voted them in. They're gonna say, well, what did you do? Why didn't you know? So all I'm asking, if you're gonna dot your I's and cross your T's, I want to know who's partnershiping with Brunswick Housing Authority.
Commissioner Dobson?
But this is my point of view. I've heard everybody speak on this. And that was a good idea to seek advice from the attorney. I agree with that. I think in a situation like this, we should all seek counsel from the attorney to decide on whether or not we should individually go and ask questions without knowing the ramifications of it. So I think that you gave a good point of view that we should just probably come together and discuss this amongst ourselves before we reach a decision, as you were saying.
I think that's, yes, sir, I think that's right. Or ask the questions of staff and ask them to report.
Right. That way we can reach a point. And we won't have to go, like Kabaya said, back and forth, the same thing, over and over. That's a policy that I think we should adopt. That if we have problems, we in doubt, send a scout. The attorney is the man. I mean, we can get legal advice, we can get solid advice, without having to go through the bickering amongst each other. So that's my suggestion. When we run into situations like this, partnerships and stuff like that, we don't feel like we want to get answers. Like you said, you wanted to know for yourself. But I think that in a case like this, we should discuss it together, and then we'll come to a common decision on that. Because I agree, Ciala has been one of the biggest entities in Glenn County ever since I was coming up. I worked for Ciala for years, and their reputation is solid. And if I think that they got anything to do with the housing authority, that's a plus for us. So before we go kicking cans, let's consider what the people we're talking to. And Ciala is no joke. You want to make sure that you partnership with them in the right way, and you don't want to lose that partnership. That's an X. You lose Ciala, game over.
Well, this is the executive director works for the commission. I would much rather that if Commissioner Bailey, Madam Vice Chairman, had any question, that she call me, come into the office, put an email in writing, and we would have provided those answers and those concerns. Ciala went on a limb with us, did a nice partnership ad in the paper. I value this relationship, and I pray that this relationship goes long after I'm gone, and some of us.
Without a doubt.
What the communication that came back to me at 10 o'clock at night was a pleasant one, and I do not prefer to air that out here. But we just need to set a protocol that if there's any question about our partnership, that you start with the executive director. Moving forward, there is some information concerns here. I'll leave that.
Yeah, and I would say not just partnerships, but I think
Yes.
operations of the housing
Yes,
authority
yes.
should come
Yes.
from you all as the authority to the executive director, and then you hold him, if he doesn't get you the answers, then the five of you hold him accountable. But I think that's the
Yes.
information flow.
May I?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Dobson, I think I'm on to something. I think you're on to something, that we want to have that relationship with Sea Island, right? And I think we might be, to borrow a phrase, a little bit out over our skis. And so I'm just going to ask Mr. Baker a couple questions just to really dial in on what exactly it is that we have with Sea Island. And I'm looking at Ms. Howe's email saying what our relationship is. And there's some bulleted points that say, presenting polished interviews, writing resumes, things like that. Is that something that Sea Island is doing affirmatively for the Housing Authority, that they are only doing for us and don't do in the normal scope of their work?
They do in the normal scope of their work, but they're focusing on this community.
Right. I'm just trying to get
Right.
high level. And then the dates for upcoming further assistance, January 26th all the way through February 23rd. Are those exclusive just for Housing Authority residents, or are those open to the public as well?
They are mixed, general public as well.
Okay. And then the job fair is obviously open to the public. So,
Hold on, one might maybe corrected.
They're holding those on our facility.
Yes, okay, the January 26th through February 23rd is held here on our facility to promote our residents here, so we're out recruiting them.
but that's open to the general public as well?
Yes.
All right. And so I guess in general, it sounds like they're making accommodations for us more than we're entering into a true partnership.
Yes.
And I think that provides a lot of light into a lot of the banter today. And
Yes.
so we'd like for it to be a true partnership, maybe something that even involves an MOU at some point, but we're just not quite there yet.
No, we're working through that now, but however we want to move forward with that, we're more than the board want us to move forward with that, we'll move forward with that. I just want this arrangement, I want Sea Island to feel welcome and not threatened that they're going to be faced any type of repercussion for coming on our property to help our residents. That's my biggest fear.
Mr. Hartman, do you think that it changes the circumstance if they do, in fact, begin arranging transportation to and from the Housing Authority partnership or property, specifically for the residents? And I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I think it's a maybe, but I mean, if other companies were doing that, I mean, if another business was picking up our residents, I don't know that it necessarily has to go through the authority. I mean, they can make arrangements. But I think you're right. I think right now to call it a partnership may be
premature.
All right, perfect. And if we do get into negotiations about the transportation, I think that's something that would be at least worth a check mark from the board's very capable attorney.
Right.
And then my last observation, and I'll keep it brief and to the point, and that is the Mr. Brooks email from January 24th, forwarding from January 13th. Mr. Brooks, some of the language that you use in that email is distasteful, offensive, and not appropriate.
He's talking about me.
And
And
I understand you were in a moment of frustration, but
I was, because the report from Sea Island
was that Madam Chairman had told them to cease and desist from working with our tenants.
No, I did not.
Ms. Brooks, I
No, I did
understand.
not.
Which means
No, I did not.
they are being robbed of an opportunity to grow and get out
Ms.
of this
Brooks,
place.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I do understand, and it's noted, and I know you're in a moment of frustration, and let's try to be
Yes, sir.
better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
May I say something?
No, Madam Vice Chair.
Mr.
I
Collins,
Yes.
I think from an administrative standpoint, if you're going to say that language from Chairman, Ms. Hightower Brooks was distasteful, I think we need to revisit what Chairman with Vice Chair, Madam Vice Chair did.
Look, we're not gonna go down that road.
I'm not trying to get into a grand inquiry, this is just what's presented in the board packet, and I suppose my opinion, which is just my opinion.
Yes, sir.
I'm not speaking for the board here.
Right.
That shouldn't happen out of any of us or any
Right.
staff. And I just
Right.
would have felt remiss if I didn't bring that up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm done, Mr. Chair.
Madam Vice Chair, you have
Yes.
comments?
Yes. Say what now?
You have comments?
Yes. I did not tell Sea Island that they could not partnership with
So
us.
let's not go down
Wait-
that
wait a
road.
minute,
We
wait a
just-
minute,
we just
wait a
stopped-
minute.
We just stopped
Wait
that
a
part of the
minute.
conversation. Let's
Wait a
not
minute.
go down that road.
Let me defend myself, because
I don't
that
think that
email
this
Mr.
is-
Brooks wrote, I didn't see, I did not tell them.
Let's-
What is happening
Madam
now?
Vice Chair,
Can I
please.
say this though? I will get off that topic, but
Thank you.
listen, the questions that we're asking Mr. Baker about what Sea Island can do about transportation, that should come from Sea Island. That's the reason for the presentation, whether we do an MOU or whether we partnership with them. Those are the questions we ask the people that's gonna partnership with us, because he doesn't have the answers to everything. First, he said they were gonna do the resume check. And all I want to know is, I would like to speak to the people that we're partnershiping with. That's all I'm asking in the future. That's the way we've been doing it, and some things we may not do anymore, but I like to see the people that's gonna be around our residents.
Anyone else? I'm gonna have the final word on Sea Island, and this is the final word. We've also been awarded the Jobs Plus grant, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So if our residents become gainfully employed, the job, even with a Sea Island, does that fit into the Jobs Plus grant where their rents won't get raised, but we will, if I understand it correctly, the Jobs Plus grant will allow us to take those rent raises from the Jobs Plus grant to put into our public housing budget.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so a partnership with Sea Island, even nominal as this, will allow us to become more financially sound from the public housing point of view.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, that's all I have to ask.
Can I ask one question?
No, that's the final one, we're moving on, we are moving on.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're moving on to Mr. Baker's contract. Let me say this, I think, of course, this is a contract negotiation, so I think that needs to go into executive session. My question to you guys at the board is, how do you want to handle this? We still have the Whispering Oaks update thereafter, which is our Gordon Armstrong public meeting. So I ask how you want to handle the discussion for Baker's contract. The way for Mr. Cullen, when Ms. Strickland notified the board that she was retiring, we had a search firm, and then we appointed committees to handle a lot of this so we wouldn't have to keep coming back in. However, because there is so much discussion surrounding the process, the board has elected that every member of the board has to be present during these discussions.
Wonderful.
Yes. So, we are already well pressed for time now. It is 1:30. My question is, how do you guys as a board want to handle the discussions for Mr. Baker's contract moving forward? Take some time, discuss.
I've already discussed it, thought about it, talked to myself about it. If we can go back, first of all, let me ask this question. We need to see the performance evaluation if one was done on Ms. Strickland. We need a performance evaluation done from each board member, and we still have reports from HUD and one from Ms. Henry that we are waiting on. I asked in an email that we not go before this right now with Mr. Baker's contract, that it be taken off this agenda, because it's just too premature to go into it now. It's a lot of things that have to be discussed about it before going forward.
For clarity, the board has already agreed and voted upon the terms of his contract.
We did.
And the attorney has provided all the legal information for that. So technically, the contract would just need approval at this point. Is that about right? Correct? Okay.
Authority to approve the contract.
And so anything additional would be requests from the board.
Well,
in the protection of interim executive director, I think all these discussions need to be done in executive session.
That's clear.
Yeah.
My question is, how do you want to proceed?
We need to have executive session.
Because this is more meetings, this is gonna be additional meetings moving forward, or the board can,
I'm not in
leaving
agreement
it up
with
to
an
you
additional
guys.
meeting. I'm telling you that right now. I'm not in no agreement with an additional meeting. I'm telling you that right now. We're not doing that. We're gonna get done now. And if where we gotta go, you just gotta go. We gotta deal with this now. That's my thought.
no, we don't have
Again.
everything that we need in order to go forward to discuss this contract. He's on a month-to-month basis right now. So I don't know what the hurry is to do it. We have a lot of things that we have to consider, and we have a lot of things to read and consider, and to take this time to do it now, I expressed it in my email to leave that off this agenda right now.
So I would just suggest everything, be in an executive session that we're going to talk about employment.
Again, I'm not one to talk about the actual employment. I want from the board, how do you wish to proceed from this moment right now? We can go into executive session
You're
and
asking
start
about
this
timing. You're
discussion.
asking about, the question is, do you
Or-
want to talk about it now, or
Do you want to talk
get
about
back
it?
together another day?
And that is,
Together now.
please let me know.
What is our agenda? I'm assuming our agenda for February.
Stacking up.
I would imagine so.
We get to start our annual plan. This is when we start reviewing is the fiscal, finance stuff comes in at the February meeting? No, that's
March.
the annual plan.
The annual plan.
Annual plan comes in, we've got some policies on there, it's stacking up.
And from a timing perspective, with the annual plan, would it
Annual
be,
plan's going, we're gonna take a
It's
couple
gotta be.
months on that.
would it be best to have this contract approved or disapproved prior to the annual plan or subsequent to? Mr. Chairman, in your vast experience.
Oh, wow. A vast experience. You know what? I have a pretty flexible schedule. So long as it's after 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm pretty good. So, I'm leaving it up to the four of you to determine how often we're gonna meet to make this happen.
Once we get all necessary information, we get an evaluation from each commissioner.
You've had the evaluation form, which I emailed out to you guys. The
But that
evaluation
doesn't
form,
say-
the annual plan, our current existing annual plan, and the stuff that needs to be evaluated on. You had that in your email. Did anyone else other than myself perform the evaluation?
Because
Okay. That was gonna be part of the roundtable discussion, is how you evaluated it. How was the evaluation? So again, at this point, I wanna limit it to, you guys wanna go into the executive session now. Remember, we still have to have the Whisper Oaks meeting. Or do you want to call another special call, executive session specifically for it?
I want to
I
call,
suggest that.
I suggest a special call specifically for Mr. Baker's contract, but not today.
At this time, we're gonna get to the bottom and iron it out. I'm agree with Kamaya. We can't keep going back and forth, because we already voted. We already, if you recall, we already voted on this.
We only
Right.
voted
For
to
the 6
submit.
months?
We only voted, to my understanding,
We
we
gave
don't.
them 6 months.
We're not supposed to discuss.
We're not going to
this contract.
discuss what's in the
Yeah,
contract.
we only voted for Mr. Hartman to look at the new submitted contract, not to vote on it, but just for Mr. Hartman to revise it, to read it.
So I will entertain a motion about Mr. Baker's contract. Understanding there's been discussion that we should table it for now and that we will be setting new dates to have that meeting. So I will entertain a motion.
Entertain a motion that we move to another date and time to discuss only Mr. Baker's contract.
I have a motion by Madam Vice Chair to defer Mr. Baker's contract. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded, I have a motion by Madam Vice Chair to defer Mr. Baker's contract negotiations, seconded by Commissioner Cullins. Is there any further discussion? Check your calendars and see when you're available. It took me a week and a half to get this meeting for just even without the Baker contract. So please check your calendars at this time and tell me when you're available. Or do you just want to try to pick it up at our regular meeting?
Chairman, can I suggest something? I just need to know the will of the commission at some point, as soon as possible. There's some let's just disregard that. Let's just disregard it.
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate to hold an executive session an hour preceding our next regular scheduled meeting?
That is appropriate, yes.
If that fit I wouldn't reduce that to a motion, but if everyone had that clear on their calendar, 8 a.m. 8 a.m.'s early, huh?
No, I get up at 4 anyway, so I'm good. I'll just have to work.
For 20 years, that's when it used to kick off. But I think we would need to give notice, public notice that the meeting's gonna start at 8 instead of 9, the regular meeting. But
Are you?
can't do
Well,
it.
I guess my suggestion would be hold the executive, have a
We have to
special
open
call,
the meeting.
special call, open it, close it, regular.
Maybe saying the same thing, but I think if you just give notice of you can start either way, we've got to open a public meeting
At 8.
at 8. And I think if you just change the start date for your regularly scheduled, you don't have to have a special call. It would just be an earlier regular meeting.
Right.
Oh, okay.
With the first thing on the agenda being your executive session.
Again, I would not reduce that to a motion, but if it did fit everyone's calendar, we could probably.
I understand that.
Okay.
One moment. Does everybody understand what does everybody understand what the discussion is at our regular February meeting? We just advertised that our meeting is going to start at 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. And the very first thing on our agenda is executive session discussion. Is that okay with everyone?
I can't say I'm okay
It's
with
not
it,
a-
but
it's
I'm
not a
clear.
motion. It's
But
not a
I'm-
motion.
I'm clear, but I'm not okay with that. I'm clear.
Clear.
And we could circulate other proposed times as well.
Okay.
I'm just not for another meeting. Now, that fits better because we'll already be here. But not no in-between meetings or not after that. We need to get this done on that day. Everybody need to get all the information they need so we know what we need to do. Period.
Mr. Becker.
No, the February meeting, does not, allow me the obligation that needs to be, extended to residency and some other personal professional things that I need to do. So I need to know the will of the board as soon as possible. I understand that there's some concerns by some commissioners and things of that nature. My performance, I think, have been exemplary, and so, but I would request that the board look for a day sometime in this month to resolve the issue, so I know the will of the board and know how to proceed for the month of February.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that under consideration. All right, so that item that thus far has been moved off. So just to be clear, we need to make a motion to adjourn our regular meeting, and then we will be moving directly into our Gordon Armstrong meeting. So,
Move to adjourn present meeting.
I have a motion by Commissioner Cullins to adjourn our Brunswick Public Housing Authority meeting. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Dobson. Dickerson. My apologies. Dickerson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same. The motion carries unanimously. We will now open up the Gordon Armstrong meeting, and the only thing we have on that agenda is the Whispering Oaks update. Yes.
Whispering Oaks.
Oh, good Lord.
So like I'm sure the board knows the condition of Whispering Oaks, and we're talking about going back into re-syndication for a tax credit deal in order to fix it back up. In the meantime, Whispering Oaks has a long history of not having a lot of cash. And in the past, the Housing Authority has actually, on a couple of occasions, I believe, given basically Whispering Oaks some operating funds to take care of certain large items. Right now, I don't have the December financials for Whispering Oaks. The management company hasn't sent them yet, but I have the November ones that show that their cash, as of the end of November, their cash, they had $5,500 in the bank. However, they had, almost $11,000 of outstanding accounts payable on top of some other issues that have come up. So I don't know if anything improved for them in December yet, but there are some more urgent things that are going on right now that Kim can explain that will cost money in order to fix, and it's not something that can be put off until we eventually get this tax credit thing going again, because I think there's going to be a time lag on that. But Whispering Oaks basically is part of, or is under the umbrella of REHAP, non-federal. We have the mortgage on Whispering Oaks through Georgia HAP. So that's where any money that, if we were to give them money, or we could loan them money, either way, if that happened, it would be through Georgia HAP, through non-federal funds that it happened. And I'll let Kim talk about the things that are going on there.
We have one particular unit that actually is about to go under abatement through the Section 8 program because they got an inspection done they've had an inspection in November that there was no flooring in the apartment. The carpet was taken up and there's just subfloor. got told to fix it in December. They went back and it's still not completed. They have an inspection, at the end of this month, that if it goes through and they still do not have any flooring, they will lose their Section 8 voucher. So that person will no longer be eligible for Section 8. We were made aware of another resident that the sprinkler system burst. Her carpet got wet. She has got mold and mildew issues. We have set up, they went and did a testing for mold and mildew, have not gotten the results for that one yet. But if that unit also needs abatement, then we're basically having to make the repairs for the abatement on the remediation on that. So these are at least 2 apartments that we've been made aware of. I'm sure there are more according to what Section 8 inspectors have told me. There are other issues going on that need to be taken care of that we have not been given letters on yet. But we need to free up, somehow they need to get some money because it doesn't make sense that we initially basically own the building, but we can't even pass our own Section 8 inspections.
I'm sorry. Who's performing the inspections?
Our Section 8 inspector, it's actually Miss Cheryl is doing those because Mike cannot do them. Miss Cheryl, the outside contractor, has to do them.
So we're performing inspections on our own properties that
The
we're
contractor
failing,
does, yeah.
and this will show up on our other reports.
Yes.
Wonderful. Just need to be clear about that.
Yeah, we can't, that's why Mike can't do them himself, who we employ. We have to do the outside contractor.
So we're failing our own people, and at that, but within when we start coming back up again for all this HUD stuff, this will show up.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why we need to get this, somehow them some money to make these repairs.
Shoot ourselves in the foot.
Whispering Oaks has always been barely cash flowing ever since, as long as I've been here and longer, since it first opened up in the early 2000s. It's a fairly small unit, and a lot of tax credit properties are not trying to make money in the first place, but it barely cash flowed. What's happened in recent years is, I think, the same thing that happened with us, with people not paying their rent, because they have more delinquent rent now than they did prior to 2020. And not to mention, I don't even know if we have staff over there all the time. I have no idea. But so far in this, they're on a calendar year basis. So far in this year through November, with salary and benefits for the property, it paid $62,000 for employees, for property manager, and for maintenance. And on top of that, the roughly $2,000 a month management fee that we pay to the management company to run the place. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's the only problem, but there's part of your problem, because if it was one of our locally owned properties, we would only be charging maintenance to that property when somebody was actually over there working on the property. We would not just have a dedicated person if it wasn't warranted.
Is this information coming from, in last meeting, didn't we say we were going to get somebody to do an assessment of Whispering Oaks? Is this their findings from that assessment?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
And so Michael Yen, he is what? He is the inspector.
He's the inspector, but he can't do them.
He is our public house, he is ours that works for the housing authority, but he cannot inspect those because of the fact that we own those basically. And so that is why we have to use the outside contractor.
Okay.
You can't self-inspect.
Okay.
Approximately how many of those units are Section 8? Off the top of your head.
That I don't know, but I'm guessing close to half.
And there's possibly.
But I mean,
72
I
units.
can get that for you.
Yeah, can we get that?
Yeah. So, and I know we're going through the lot.
I'm keeping up. I'm keeping up.
We've already signed a contract for a gentleman again, re-syndicate it to take it back through the LIHTC, Low Income Housing Tax Credit process. We were aware, Ms. Strickland did provide us, the board, before she retired, saying that it was going to cost a substantial amount of money to go in and redo that. The board did decide to go with the re-syndication process because it'll save us a boatload of money. And actually probably profit a little bit off the fees or such and so forth that goes with it. Shouldn't cost us a whole lot. However, now we have these
Immediate problems.
immediate issues, and there's little money.
Little cash and very little reserves.
Have we reached out? I know we also had discussions about taking over the management of Whispering Oaks. Have we reached out to Mr. Robinson about he had discussed before the potential partnerships with another housing authority? Have we reached out to him to ask him what that could potentially be and how soon we could do that?
Yes, and we still working on an answer on that. It's more complex than just reaching out to
Right.
him. And so we are in discussion with Mr. Robinson at this time. There for the assessment and what that looks like for us. So I asked him for a detail.
I'm sorry, I was just wanting
Yes, that's
only
your
the
question.
management part.
Yes.
Because I think that I understand the property is already ours,
Yes.
but we have a separate management firm that has to have very specific qualifications for the government reporting.
Right, but we got to do
And-
the assessment before we get to that. I don't want to overload the commissioner because even assessment is going to be kind of complicated, considering what all got to happen from sub-ground up. Yes.
So I think my recommendation was that we see if Mr. Robinson could
Be here.
can sort of on a parallel track,
Yeah.
whether it's partnering with other housing authorities, but get us to where we can manage it with help and then terminate this, and maybe that'll give you more comfort when you put the money in that it's gonna be spent.
Yeah, he's working with LaGrange as well as one in, I believe, North Georgia, the two that said that we willing, so that's a couple moving parts there. So it's going to be a definitive answer. That's just say we're working through it right now. So I come back to the board. Hopefully as soon as I have an answer for the board, I would send it via email and by the end of the month, and so where we are. So we move forward with it.
Fair enough.
If we don't remedy these immediate concerns, no flooring, then I would imagine that puts the re-syndication under LIHTC in jeopardy. Is that fair?
I don't know if it does that. I think it's just that particular thing is a black eye on us.
In this person's, I
Yeah.
mean, if this
Sure.
doesn't get done, approved somehow, then these two people are basically going to not have their housing available.
But overall, the whole thing, when the assessment was done a couple years ago on what all needs to happen, it started with roofs because at that time, the insurance company for Whispering Oaks said they would not renew the insurance, the property insurance, until new roofs were put on. Well, and then that's when, you remember going over the contracts with all that. Well, the roofs never happened because at that time, the management company put the RFP out or the bid out to get the roofing companies, and the bids came back and they were all out of town and they were all very expensive. And that was when the former person who was here said that he thought that he could get better bids in-house, and then it just turned into a,
And then COVID.
A nightmare.
yeah. And then they went over and just said, okay, well, now let's go see what all it needs over there. So they walked, several employees, I think, went over there and looked, and they're like, well, it's not just the roofs, it's this, that, and the other, and it turned into a much bigger thing. So overall, you know, forget what this current part is, but overall, the quicker we get in that re-syndication thing, the better for that property, because it's not that old. I mean, it's not, it's like, but we do have an immediate need for some help for them, whether it's a loan or whatever.
What's the ask today?
The ask today would be to get enough money to put flooring in to cover the cost of whatever this remediation is going to end up being. And it may end up being come back that it's not a mold issue, but that happened the same day that we met with this issue on the last board meeting. So it was just like, okay, this is adding another layer to it. So, and like I said, I mean, that one, we don't even have the test results yet. Although, again, the Friday that I left, the Thursday I left, they were supposed to get the testing done on Friday. They didn't get the testing done until Tuesday morning. So that's why we don't have results yet. So like I said, once I get that, I'll know the full amount of what that's gonna cost. But right now, this right here, we have got to put some type of flooring down by the 28th, 27th.
Shop window.
Do we have the ability to do that?
That's where, this is where I go to this person, and we didn't let him out of the
Big
building.
spiel about him and 4 guys.
Yeah, we got 4 guys. We can't expect them to go.
Sounds like they're tied up for it.
Yeah, I think we.
That's why I look at him.
Oh boy.
We do have the ability to accomplish that. We
Is it gonna be
do.
overtime?
Probably so. Probably so.
Do we have any option to not do it?
We have the ability to do it. Now, I will say, if I can get those guys to do overtime on it, I don't know. My biggest fear is forcing what I have out, because I can't replace them. So I really don't like the idea of forcing overtime on them. But I mean, they're pretty reasonable. If I ask them, I'm certain they'll do it.
And that property, although it's separate, is still under the same regulations where you can't have outside folks coming in to do work. Is that correct? You have to have background checks and certifications for that property
For that property.
to enter into the units.
Section 8, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there her money in that? Is that her money in that?
Well,
So effectively, it
This
has
would
to
be
be
Georgia
organized.
HAP money, although we have to follow all the same procurement policies and everything for Georgia HAP. I would assume that all the other kind of policies would apply to you. I would assume so.
The same rules would apply. The same rules would apply, but it doesn't mean that I can't have an independent contractor do the work.
You can hire.
I can hire an independent contractor as long as there's a justification for it.
Okay.
So you got 2 options. Which one was cheaper?
Short term or long term.
But how long are they experienced
Did-
and how long they've been doing it? Did their experience count? Yeah.
Okay, so the one with the flooring, we have until the 27th on it.
27th of
January. Couple of days.
January.
A couple of days.
That's
So
why we talked about it at the last meeting.
I think the most feasible way to get it done is to let
You won't
an
complete it
independent.
within that time, but you starting on it
It's
is,
medicine I take every
by
hour.
starting on it, that means that you are already engaged in it.
They could.
You don't have to, okay. That's
You
what-
can. Well, it depends on what they have in that unit. See, that's the other problem with an occupied unit. You have someone's belongings in there that you have to move out, and if
Right.
you got a house that's not packed, maybe they won't get it done in 3 days.
Right.
I don't know.
But we have no idea what's in the unit.
Right.
But if I send our guys over there, then now we have to move their stuff out, do the flooring, and we have to move it back in, worry about storage for it and everything like that. I really think the better option is to let somebody else do it. And do I think they can get it done in 3 days? Yeah, it's possible, but it'll displace the tenant because they'll have to work in there pretty much all day long, and they move the stuff back in, move it back out. It's slow work.
Yeah.
Any idea what it costs?
I don't know what the size of that unit is.
Just rough ballpark. I mean,
If you got,
if we get board approval to loan money from the Georgia HAP funds, in excess of
Anybody-
it, doesn't mean you have to spend it all, but
You know
it's
how many
there, and
bedrooms
then
Maybe just
allow them to figure out
set a
the most
number,
effective way to
pick
do
a
it.
number, and
And you can repay the loan if it was too much, but at
Right.
least you got the funds you need to get it done in 3
Right.
days.
And generally what we would do is like they show us if it, depending on whether we cut the check or if we sent the money to Whispering Oaks. But if we sent the money, or if we, if they submitted the bill to the Whispering Oaks office, we would just have to get a copy of the bill and we would pay the exact amount. Or if we paid for it in-house, obviously we would just do that, but we wouldn't use, I would say, because this mold thing, I don't know, and I know that this mold stuff works out to be about 10 grand per unit in the public housing, the ones that's on that quote. So I don't have any idea how much this one would be, but I would just,
So you said you don't have a complete assessment on? the
no, I'm
home
saying I
damage?
don't, what Kim just talked to me about the mold in
On the
Whispering
one with
Oaks.
mold, we haven't got the result
Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
test.
we
back.
don't have the, don't have a dollar amount yet.
So-
If we just picked a number just to, get it going, knowing
Yeah.
that we would not go over that whatsoever, I would say 25.
That's for
grand.
one unit,
That's-
or is that for both of them?
That's for both of them.
And that would allow us to, I guess, it doesn't matter because at least one of them is in jeopardy of losing their voucher because of the condition of their unit. Is that correct?
Yes.
What's the time frame on the second unit?
This is different.
A little bit more time?
What's the?
The other unit, when's the deadline on that one?
Oh, if it's what I'm looking at, that deadline.
This is that one.
If it's this one, 12/12, that deadline done passed. That
No,
one-
but that's the.
The one with
same-
the-
that's this one.
Well, this one say 100 Whispering Oaks, and that one says like 402.
Yeah, that's what I'm not.
And they
sure.
two different
42 or
tenants.
7.
Those two different ones.
How could a tenant lose a place when it's not their fault?
Because there's Section 8 inspector.
Because
comes in and
it's the unit that gets inspected, not the tenant.
They lose the place, they lose the funding, right?
But they was aware of the mold, of the, you guys be aware of the floor if you see the floor in that condition, right?
You want me to honestly tell you how I found out about the mold one?
That's mine.
Was a Facebook issue.
Yeah, that sounds.
Wow.
That's how we found out. The tenant didn't come to us. The tenant put it on Facebook is how we found out. It went through several different phases till it got to actually us. And then we went to the landlord, the management company. And yes, that's how we had to back ways find out about things.
But she still being held accountable.
Yes.
My apologies. Question. How was the management firm made aware of this issue?
They told, what I was told was when they tried to proceed with an eviction is when they got told about it.
Okay. So,
Would it be fair to say that we have some issues with how the management company is managing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Mr. Hartman, is that something we might take up?
Yeah, no, and we suggested terminating
Yes.
management agreement, we're required to have a manager by DCA, and we can't find anybody else to manage it, and so the thought was, can we become our own managers and get the track record, which would then help with RAD and some of the other two, but I think that's the path forward, is to work on getting rid of Royal.
Royal American.
Royal
That's our
American.
second. We had a different management company and they weren't the greatest, but they were better than Royal American. But they dropped their smaller properties from their portfolio and we were one of them. And Royal American was the only one to bid on us.
And if we terminated, it would probably be your advice, just terminate and move on down the road.
I think we can terminate with notice, and 30 days notice will be done, and then we'd be the managers. But we've got to have
But not
us or somebody else.
Not try to get back against them in any capacity.
And if they've failed under the management agreement, then we can always.
Take it up in executive session?
Yep.
Catch it on.
Yeah, after lunch.
my understanding understand that the property belongs to us under our Gordon Armstrong entity. Management is the part that's out. We do have a staff member that is working on the qualifications.
She has the qualification.
Has qualifications.
She's seeking other training in the area to go. It's gonna leave us significantly void, which means we'll have to stretch our staff even more once we move over to management. So as you all consider that you're gonna have one person in property management that we're not gonna have. And we'll have people doing 4 or 5 to 8 tasks. So, yes, to answer your question, yes.
Okay, thank you. So, but even with that person would still need the guidance of another
Yes.
who has this extended reputation time
Yes.
to be able to perform the functions that they are trained to perform.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Love government, don't you? You just love it.
Very simple.
Okay, so you guys tell the board what the actual ask is so that we can
Will that cover?
hopefully make a motion on
Where's
this.
Ed? Of course, he goes off.
He's done.
He's gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ed.
I'm sure there's someone on staff that's smart enough to want that hat.
Listen, you wanted that. You wanted that. I don't
All I
want to touch
wanted-
no more. Listen,
all I wanted was you to wear it.
No, listen.
I don't-
I don't want
I feel
to
bad
touch it.
taking the hat.
No, listen, I don't feel bad.
That's like a
give it to
scar.
the commissioner. No, you wanted that. I want to be a man of my word. I want to say, go with me.
Are you a Georgia fan?
Me?
Are you a Georgia fan?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Oh, you wanted that.
Okay. So we can try, so I can try to get to my next one. I need to ask so the board can determine the proper motion to make on this whisper notice. But I need to ask. I know we don't have a lot of information, and our backs against the wall at the same time.
It's still better.
And if it turns out to be a little bit more than what you need, you just pay it, you just don't spend it. So, I mean, I don't think it has to be a precise number. It's better to be a little high than a little low.
So we'll get ready to vote on the floor.
Okay.
But I think you all would consider approving a loan to Whispering Oaks to address the issues raised in the Section 8 inspections. And to the extent it's not spent, you use it to repay the loan.
You're saying the extent it's not spent, you use it to repay the loan.
Right. And so I would make your ask a little, I'd build in a little cushion so you don't feel.
We don't want to be low.
Yeah, I want to, and that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking 50.
So you will be taking assessment before you can arrive at a 50, right?
Okay.
If I did, you'd have to have another meeting to approve.
So that's
And
why-
we're against, we
Commissioner
literally have to have.
That's why I'm asking 50,000.
That's
Well,
what
we
he's
have to have
asking
another
for.
meeting prior to
So
the
say again how much you want.
27th.
So actually, we're
Right.
speculating, right?
Oh yeah, this is pure speculation.
Yes, sir.
This is all speculation. We're just gonna, yep, in the
So
dark.
three dark.
Blindfold.
While
Three
hungry.
Three dark.
Let's keep on.
All right. So that amount would be.
50,000.
So the ask from staff for the Whispering Oaks is to loan
Whispering Oaks,
Whispering Oaks
$50,000
$50,000
for abatement repairs.
to handle the 2 units, current 2 units,
To handle the current 2
the
units.
repairs in those current 2 units.
Yes, sir.
And if the full 50,000 is not spent, it will be used to repay the loan. That's the ask.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Commissioners, I will entertain a motion.
I moved to loan Whispering Oaks $50,000 for.
And I was sucking that.
Or the. Hold on, can I listen?
Say.
Move to loan Whispering Oaks $50,000 for the repair of the 2 new units identified in Section 8 inspection report. And I'll cut the motion off there.
You still second?
Yes, I do.
I have a motion by Commissioner Cullins to what he said, seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed have the same. That motion passes unanimously. There's nothing else on the agenda for Gordon Armstrong?
Go ahead.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn the Gordon Armstrong meeting.
I motion that we adjourn the board Armstrong.
I have a motion by Madam Vice Chair to adjourn the Gordon Armstrong meeting, seconded by Commissioner Dickerson. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same. The motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Our meetings are hereby adjourned. Thank you all.